Hello guys, and welcome to another hangout with the International Full Soap Timeline. This is another not for the timeline video, slightly unorthodox this time because I'll be covering real offences as much as fake ones. It's mid-January. I'm recording this on the evening of January 14th. It might be a day or two before I put it online though. Or maybe at least a day or two. But the grooming gang scandal has really broken the past couple of weeks. They now call it the rape gang scandal. And there's been some very good reporting. Recently, the transcript of a judgment from a 2013 trial has been released. I've uploaded that to the Internet Archive. I'll put a link to that. And it makes harrowing reading, shall I say. We've had quite a bit of apologia. Go back a few months. The usual claims that most paedophiles are white, or 85% of paedophiles are white. Most of these men were not paedophiles. That word is thrown around like confetti, right? Paedophilia is a sexual attraction for prepubescent girls, or boys, in some cases. Probably the majority of cases, actually. These men were, I think it's hebephilia, something. They were going with girls, some who were slightly underage. In this judgment, which I'll be reading from this, some of the victims, I think we can call them victims, was one 11, 11 years old. The first point I have to make is that I don't like this Muslim rape gang, Pakistani Muslim. Pakis, yeah, but Muslims, no. I need to stress this. Under Sharia, rape is capital. I mean, rape, this real rape. I mean, here we're talking about real rapes, not I was too drunk to consent and nonsense like that. So, there's a lot of talking now about Sharia courts in Britain. I don't see why Sharia courts shouldn't deal with some of these low lives. Yeah. People like Owen Jones, for example, most paedophiles were. He actually he said that this wasn't true about these grooming gangs. The media was focusing on the gangs, these gangs, and ignoring the white ones. There have been grooming gangs, made up of whites, primarily of whites, who've been convicted. One, I'm totally convinced was absolutely a complete fantasy. That's Marie Black. Again, I'll put a link to what I consider to be an outrageous miscarriage of justice. I corresponded with Marie Black. I've also spoken with, I think it was way back now, it was her father and her new love interest. But I'd like to have tried to do something for her, but God helps those who help themselves. I say that as an atheist. In fact, that was the title of Hangout number 95, which was recorded September 11th, 2023, less than 2 years ago. Yeah, God helps those who help themselves. There's somebody else I could have helped, actually, who a guy in prison who was convicted of raping his sister. I spoke to his 86-year-old mother, who was convinced of his innocence, but I never heard anything back. I could have really done something there because there were issues about the layout of the house 40 years previously. He obviously had very poor representation. Here, there's been a lot of talk about a public inquiry, a full public inquiry, and the Labour government is coming for a lot of stick for not agreeing to one. In particular, Starmer, who was DPP at one point. I hate to have to agree with somebody as odious as Jess Phillips, but I don't think yet another public inquiry was any use. I corresponded with somebody, I won't give his name, but there's reference to him on the timeline. He's a former police officer, and he said what he would like to see is teams of experienced detectives, several of them working under a KC, and he would love to be heading one of those teams. That's what is needed. Having said that, I mean, the police have got to grips with this now. The National Crime Agency has been working on it. It wasn't just these packy predators who I mean, there's a hell of a lot of things the police were doing here which are absolutely outrageous. I mean, absolutely, it's thoroughly documented. Not just the cover up, but the enabling of them. I mean, this gang in 2013, the 2013 conviction, well, it's from paragraph 75. Nevertheless, these are serious matters. The starting point following the guidelines is 4 years imprisonment. In respect of count 45, he was faced with 50 count indictment. There are aggravating features. At least 5 occasions, this was not a genuine relationship. It was exploitation of a very immature young girl, addicted to drinking and drugs at a very young age. The sentence is 5 years imprisonment. I accept she was 15 at the time and there was no violence. However, you knew her age. She had told you so. She had told you. She was heavily under the influence of drink at the time. I cannot accede to your counsel's invitation to pass a concurrent sentence, but I take into account the principle of totality. The sentence of the court is 2 years imprisonment to run consecutive. So at 7 years, you will serve half the sentence. You will be on licence for the remainder. I hope a SLPO, sexual offence preventing order, for an indefinite period in the terms of the draft order. That is, I impose an SLPO for an indefinite period in the terms of the draft order that was placed before me. So this guy, he's been a total of 7 years. 7 years, in practice 3.5 years. Now, let me give you some context to that. In December 2014, Adam Johnson, who was 27 years old, was a soccer player. He began talking over social media with a 15-year-old girl. His wife, or his common law wife, was pregnant at the time. He met up with the girl. He gave her 2 signed shirts for Sunderland. Then he met again, and he pleaded guilty to 1 count of sexual activity with a child, 1 of grooming, and for that he received a sentence of, get this, 6 years in prison. 6 years. There's also said to have animal pornography on his laptop. I don't know where they get them from. These, but he got 6 years for, in fact, for kissing a 15-year-old. Rolf Harris, you know all about Rolf Harris. He had no doubt that was the affair with this little tart who destroyed him, starting when she was 18. Dave Lee Travis was dragged through the mud. He wasn't accused of sexual offences against underage girls, but he was convicted of an historical. I mean, one offence. I mean, it was absolutely outrageous. Even Gary Glitter, okay, the guy had previous convictions, and he's a complete lowlife, but he was given a 16-year sentence for the attempted rape of a 10-year-old girl in the basement of a house that didn't have a basement. Well, I mean, if he wanted to rape a 10-year-old girl, he could have. I mean, there's lots of cases like that. Men have had their lives destroyed for relative. Oh, that wasn't trivial, of course. If it happened, I don't believe it happens as things go. But men have had their lives destroyed for really trivial offences. Let me give you another analogy. The Little Ted's nursery case in Plymouth was back in 2008. I mean, there's actually at least one nursery still called Little Ted's. Surprised they haven't changed the name, but this was a case in which there was a nursery worker, Vanessa George, who was she was groomed by a paedophile over the internet, and they were. She was taking photographs of very young kids, prepubescent kids, and sexual assault, touching, just touching, which is, I mean, obviously you shouldn't actually touch 4 or 5-year-olds, but let me put it this way: if you had to choose between your daughter being touched when she was 4 years old, or raped repeatedly when she was 13, 14, which would you get what I'm coming from, she got a sentence, but what these lowlifes got was, I don't know. Now, having said that, I have only limited sympathy with some of these victims. If you can call, well, many of them are victims, but certainly most of them are victims. I've none at all with Sammy Woodhouse, who's been held up as some sort of, I don't know what we call it, icon or whatever. He's actually working with Mr. Robinson now. This is a Wikipedia entry which appears to be accurate. When she was 14, she was groomed by a 24-year-old gang leader, Arshid Hussain, who was a father with, who was a married man with 2 kids. Hussain started raping Woodhouse a month after they met, and subsequently raped, assaulted, and beat Woodhouse on a daily basis. A daily basis? Seriously? She became pregnant twice when she was 15. Hussain pressured her to have an abortion the first time. Her mother died several days after Hussain was injured badly in a gang incident. She missed much of her education, had a criminal record, so began working as a model, stripper, and lap dancer, as you would do, as any self-respecting girl would do. Not after another abusive relationship, you see a pattern here already. She moved back to live with Hussain, who was in a wheelchair with her second son. However, his family wanted to take her older son, so she fled again. Seriously? Woodhouse kept being abused for years, including assault by Hussain in public, which was dismissed by the police. Her flat was set on fire. Her flat what? When she understood in 2012 she'd been groomed, she developed depression, suicidal thoughts, and eating disorder. She approached the Times anonymously in 2013, which led to the J inquiry. Her son became involved in crime and drugs. She attempted to place him in care. I mean, on one occasion, she was involved in robbery. Hussain forced her to rob a post office. Police raided his house a few days later while she and him were in bed. He was arrested, but she was charged with possessing a baton. A few months later, Hussain made Woodhouse fight a girl, or Woodhouse was committed assault. She's got no free will at all, no agency. 15-year-olds have got no agency. Whenever I hear rubbish like this, I hark back to the terrible Slender Man case. One of the perpetrators of that has been in the news recently, Morgan Geyser. If you're not familiar with it, in 2012, 2 12-year-old girls lured a third into the woods in Wisconsin, stabbed her. It's a terrible case. Peyton Leutner was the victim's name. She survived, incredibly. She was stabbed in the heart as well, a millimetre the other way, and her aorta would have burst. And these little monsters were, well, they didn't come to trial for 3 years, and they've been doped up, playing the mental illness card, or whatever you call it. The guy who is trying to get her freedom now, I hope he doesn't get it. But, you know, 12-year-olds have a certain, obviously, the younger they get, the less agency they have. I mean, a 3-year-old could do nothing wrong. So you have to keep them away from fires and stop putting things in their mouths and things like that. But even 10-year-olds, I mean, the Bulger case, Robert Thompson and John Venables, who murdered this little kid when they were 10 years old. So even 10-year-olds have agency of sorts. But Woodhouse has no agency at all, no. She put in a claim for criminal induced compensation, and they didn't think much of her either. And no, I'm sorry, she's a victim. She's at some point, people have to take responsibility for their actions. Even 14-year-olds, you know, 14-year-olds can be convicted of murder. Well, Bulger case, 11-year-olds were, but at the age of 14, people have enough agency to know what is wrong with a capital W, you know? I nearly said R then, but you know what I mean. So I have only limited sympathy for some of these so-called victims. Some of the genuine victims, and well, for genuine victims I have, but not for many of them. There's one here, Kamar Jamil, who was convicted of 5 counts against a girl known as AB, my initials. 1 of vaginal rape, 2 oral rape, 1 of conspiracy to rape, yada yada yada. She was highly vulnerable, easy prey for you. You groomed her with drink, drugs, trinkets, and attention. Yeah, you know, this is the Islamic thing as well. I mean, drink, seriously. This is halal? I don't think so. They were sort of running a brothel. Customers would become angry, for instance, if oral sex was required. They would be pushed down, their hair pulled up, and she would be slapped. Strangers would burn her with cigarettes. A stranger was shot on her. One deliberately scratched her vagina with his nails. One inserted a hairbrush into her vagina. I mean, seriously? Do you believe that? When she was 14 or 15, she started to instruct her to go to London. And she obeyed. She obeyed. He'd make her meet men at Paddington Station and provide them with sex. This happened on 5 or 6 occasions. No agency at all, you see. No agency at all. She's groomed. This is the girl, G.H. Muhammad Karar had been convicted of 16 offences. This was a 50-count indictment, this was. Rape of a child under 13. Vaginal specimen. Ugh. Using an instrument with intent to procure miscarriage. Anal rape. Rape anal specimen. Oh, a specimen charge, I'm thinking of, you know what I mean. Vaginal rape by other men who came to the flat. I mean, insertion of handle of baseball bat. Baseball bat into a child's, I mean, I don't know, I don't know how much that I believe. Arranging child prostitution. Well, we don't call it child prostitution now, do we? There's no such thing as a child prostitute. Muhammad Karar were introduced to GH when she was only 11. And again, where are the parents? Now, some parents, there have been at least 2 fathers who appeared in the media who were basically warned off by the police. This goes a lot deeper than just deranged packies having their way with white girls. It goes a lot deeper than that. I mean, as I say, in view of the Adam Johnson case, Rolf Harris, and other men who have been convicted of fairly trivial offences, at the times real offences, just touching a girl's arse, or even a woman's arse for that matter, and they're getting, a lot of them are getting, anyway, there's retribution, swift. In my last hangout, I mentioned the case of 2 cases of men who were both acquitted rightly for trivial imaginary crime. One which the guy was meant to have touched the woman's neck and kissed her on the cheek. Not complete rubbish. Of course, the kissing on the cheek thing. I mean, it's and charge you with common assault for touching her neck, which in a pub with like, loads of other people, I would just ludicrous. But they allowed these lowlifes to get away with this for years. You duped her by telling you would take her to Saudi Arabia and marry her when she was 15. Well, if she wants to do that, she's a slut. You know, I don't care how old she is or how young. She became pregnant. Your reaction was to become angry with her and slap her. You took her to Reading, so an illegal abortion would be performed on her at an underground, what's called an underground clinic. Muhammad Karar took her to various places to provide. This is paragraph 51. A hotel in Bournemouth. Big hotels are happy with this sort of thing, eh? Taken her eye looking for sex on a regular basis, and she went. You, Muhammad Karar, prepared her for gang anal rape by using a pump to expand her anal passage. I mean, I don't know. You subjected her to gang rape by 5 or 6 men, count 30. At one point, she had 4 men inside her. I mean, a red ball was placed in her mouth to keep her quiet. That's what I call a ball gag. She had 4 men inside her. Was it 2 in each orifice? I mean, I know it's a joke about 5 at once. It's like legs apart, 1 in the mouth, 1 in each hand, one in each of the. I mean, this isn't a joke. Do I believe that much of it? I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I mean, obviously, they were committing horrible crimes, but still, Mr. Karar. No, this is chapter. This is paragraph 71. Whoever that is. Again, I'll put the link below. You first contacted IJ pretending to be someone else. You adopted various grooming strategies. You enticed her to your address. At the very least, or your premises, IJ would have access to alcohol, cannabis, and cocaine, like any good Muslim. Alcohol. There was DNA on her clothing. His DNA on her clothing. I said, where are the parents? You know, horrible these offences are. You can't believe every complainant uncritically, because even real victims embellish at times, and if they get caught up with an embellishment, it can or an outright lie, then of course it can result in the entire case being thrown out. Unless, of course, your name is Donald Trump, in which case it doesn't count. With the Eugene Carroll case and that ludicrous where he makes a paedophile model for the court election interference on campaign. Absolutely absurd. But it's clear that these men didn't just have a charmed life apiece, which eventually the charm ran out because only cats have 7 lives. But they were protected by people very high up, not just ordinary plods, but it's absolutely shameful. That went on for so long. It's absolutely shameful. With regard to the sex offenders registry, or whatever it's called now, they got one in America. I think they've got one in several countries. I think I'm not in favour of that. I think, you know, if a guy's been convicted and done his time, that should be it. Obviously. I mean, anybody who's got a conviction for dishonesty ain't going to get a job working with a bank. And a guy with a conviction for any sort of sexual offence won't work with kids, and probably not with teaching, any sort of teaching, even adult teaching. But I'm opposed to this. It's just stigmatisation. I mean, if these men are dangerous, they should be in prison. You know, they should be given a sentence which is significant to keep them off the streets until because they're no longer a danger. Then they should be able to get on with their lives as best they can. I mean, they do it for murderers. Murderers on a life licence, but I don't think there's a registry of a public registry of murderers. On the same subject, Harriet Harman's coming for criticism again, unwarranted. Mrs. Keane Minshall has been sounding off against her, which also believes that Jimmy Savile was guilty. I'll put a link to the my Jimmy Savile video below. She was on the Lotus Eaters podcast, and they were going on about Harriet Harman sort of siding with paedophiles, being linked, whatever word they used to paedophiles. What actually happened? I put a link to my article about years ago. Harriet Harman was, I think she was the chairman or whatever of that was there called the National Council of Civil Liberties. The Paedophile Information Exchange, this was about 1974, an organisation called the Paedophile Information Exchange, affiliated with it, as is entitled to do. Did they know it was like a group calling for the abolition or reduction of the abolition of age of consent? I doubt it. I mean, information exchange, it sounds as though it's an organisation which gives information about paedophiles. Anyway, they're affiliated to what's called Liberty now, it's usually called the NCCL. And they weren't kicked out. And Harman's been, well, you know, I'm sorry, paedophiles have rights too. They have the right to lobby for the age of consent to be reduced or abolished. There was an interview with two of these lowlifes by the BBC. I'm sure it was the BBC many years ago. I think probably in the 90s sometime. It's probably not on YouTube. And still, they two of them openly wanted to abolish age of consent. The odious Peter Tatchell, I've actually shaken hands with him. Seemed to think it was okay for 9-year-old to consent to sex with an adult. Who am I to judge, he says. But again, I'll put a link to that. Put a lot of links in this video. But he, Harman and Company, they allow these lowlifes to affiliate. And what happened was that the government let them hang themselves, basically. They gave them enough rope to hang themselves. Some of them ended up in prison. One very infamous one, Tom O'Carroll, was working for the Open University of all things. And of course, nowadays they've got this thing in schools, you know, so they make all this noise about paedophiles. You've got kids being groomed in schools here on both sides of the Atlantic, being taught about queer sex, and you got, don't get me started about the transgender madness and the surgical mutilation of the young. You know, I think most people would rather be buggered than surgically mutilated. So that's that. Right, now I'll move on to a case of a guy I'm definitely not putting on the timeline, even though he was eventually cleared of rape. I don't know how. I'll just play a little bit of the video first.
My name is Jared Maurice Adams. I'm from the south side of Chicago. In 1998, when I was 17 years old, I was falsely accused and ultimately wrongfully convicted of a sexual assault that I did not commit. I spent almost 8 years in prison before I was exonerated with the help of the Wisconsin Innocent Project.
The case against Jared Adams, as presented to the jury, as the case was tried, was a really thin case. Really, most of the evidence, virtually all of the evidence of what happened both before and after the sexual encounter was entirely consistent with a consensual encounter, and really inconsistent with a non-consensual encounter. And it really looked very much like what I think is the reality here, which is that this young woman spent an evening of drinking and engaged in consensual sex that she later regretted, and as we have seen on other occasions, decided to turn it into a claim of sexual assault.
My family and I had absolutely no knowledge of the law. I had never been in trouble before and never really had any experience, or no one close to me had an experience with the law at this level. So we trusted my court-appointed attorney that the evidence against me was so weak and so thin that, you know, he would come up with a strategy called a no defense strategy. The thing with this theory that my lawyer chose was this no defense strategy kept me from calling the one witness that would have proved my innocence.
A no defence strategy, yeah. No defence. The one witness who would have proved my innocence. Very, very thin case. And the victim, and I will call her a victim, she was white. And of course they made it a race thing. In that video, he and his apologist give the impression it was a one-on-one encounter. Okay, let's see what actually happened. I'm reading here from, this is Fine Law. The victim, I will call her a victim, is, in this judgment she's referred to as SES. Her name was actually given on the website of Michigan Law School, National Registry of Exonerations. I won't give it here. Anyway, this is what Fine Law says. Adams v. Bertrand, 2006. United States Court of Appeals, 7th Circuit. A Wisconsin jury convicted Jared Adams along with Demetri Henley of 5 counts of second-degree sexual assault, and Adams was sentenced to 28 years in prison. Adams appealed his conviction to the Wisconsin Court of Appeals and the Wisconsin Supreme Court, neither of which granted him relief. Having exhausted his state court remedies, Adams filed a petition for writ of habeas corpus in the Eastern District of Wisconsin, challenging both the sufficiency of the evidence and the effectiveness of his trial counsel. That's the old useless law again, Strickland v. Washington, 1984. So it's amazing how many of these appeals are based on my lawyer was rubbish. The District Court denies the petition. We reverse the District Court's decision based on the constitutional deficiencies of his trial counsel. In other words, it was the lawyer's fault. Now, this is you've already seen this wasn't a one-on-one. In September 1998, Joe Adams, Demetri Henley, and Rovaughn Hill, 3 men from Chicago, were selling cologne at the University of Washington at Whitewater shortly before fall semester classes were to begin. On the evening of September 5th, the men were playing video games in the dorm of Sean Domain, a freshman whom they had met during their sales rounds. Meanwhile, SES, that's the victim, a female freshman who resided in the same dorm as Domain and SES's roommate, Heidi Sheets, I don't know what to say about her in a bit, were attending a party a few blocks away. While at the party, SES had approximately 3 or 4 beers. Upon returning to the dorm later that evening, the women went to Domain's dorm room where they first met the 3 men from Chicago. This is, don't go to a dorm with 4 men, especially 4 black men. If that sounds racist, I mean, take it from me that so many of these cases involve black dudes. At trial, Sheets and SES offered different stories of what happened next. Sheets stated that both women invited the men up to their room, which was located 3 floors above Domain's. While the men and SES proceeded to the room, Sheets went down to the hall for approximately 25 minutes to speak with another friend. According to SES, however, neither she nor Sheets invited the 3 men to their room. Rather, she left Domain's room by herself and went to her own room. When she opened the door to the room, the 3 men suddenly appeared at the door and barged in, telling SES to put on music so they could dance. After selecting a compact disc, the men took turns dancing provocatively with SES, grabbing her breast and grabbing her crotch. She claimed she did not resist because she was scared. In the 1960s, she'd probably have screamed, but this is like 1998. So the situation deteriorated further. One of the men pulled SES onto Sheets' bed, and Adams, standing before her, pulled down his pants, leaving him with only his boxers on. Consensual, yeah. At this point, Sheets entered the room. Both Sheets and SES testified that Sheets became upset and stormed out of the room. Now, they're trying to make out that this was like she saw her friend doing, a roommate doing what she shouldn't have been doing. Sheets entered another room on the same floor, refused to let SES inside. Through the closed door, SES asked Sheets whether she was mad at her, and overheard Sheets calling her a slut. But even sluts can be raped. Anyway, back in her room. Upon returning to the room, the men ordered her to sit on the floor, and SES complied, sitting on the floor with her legs crossed, Indian style. Shortly thereafter, Adams told her to lie down, which she did. He tried to remove his pants, while SES kept her knees close together in an attempt to stop him. Eventually, however, in the face of Adams' continued tugging, she relaxed her legs. He removed her pants and underwear and proceeded to have sex with her. After Adams, the other men took turns having sex with her. During this time, one of the men also rubbed his penis against her face, telling her to suck this as she turned her face to avoid it. The three men left and SES called her boyfriend, Joshua Lodwick. Although she didn't want to go to the hospital or talk to the police, he and others insisted she did. So, does that sound like, I mean, sluttish behaviour, but there's a lot more to it. Somehow they, I don't know, I mean, how they reverse this, I don't know. I mean, it may have been that the sentence was heavy, but, you know, a 28-year sentence is heavy, but it doesn't necessarily mean 28 years in America. And this guy is now practicing law. I just don't know. I mean, that's definitely not that's the timeline. But in that video, he's 1-on-1 under useless lawyer, yada yada yada. Yeah, sure. And the Innocence Projects go along with it. I mean, they go along with it, far more worthy cases than this. I'm sorry. Now, I mentioned Heidi Sheets. I'm fairly certain this is the same woman, because the age is about right. This is from 2018. This is an article called Sex Crime Charges Net Jail Time for Ex-Teacher. A former teacher at Centra Rivermont School in Chase City will spend years in prison after pleading guilty this week to sex crimes involving a teenage student from South Boston. Heidi Bradshaw Sheets, 40, of Baskerville, pleaded guilty on Wednesday to one count of taking indecent liberties with a minor, one count of online solicitation of a minor, and one count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. She faces up to 16 years in prison on these charges. Well, also Wednesday, Sheets was sentenced to 5 years in prison on separate charges. I'll put a link to it, and I'll archive the link for it anyway, in any case. That's February 26, 2018, from a local news website. But I say I'll put a link and I'll archive it. I don't know if it's the same woman, but sounds like it. Sounds like it to me. Right, this is from the Atlanta Constitution, June 3rd, 1977, page 37. Witness says he lied about former priest. A former resident of the Reverend Claudius Vermilion, I can't pronounce that name, Vermilion's home for wayward boys, testified Thursday. He lied to a grand jury about having had homosexual relations with a defunct Episcopalian priest because a state prosecutor threatened to lock him up. James Puckett, 21, said he neither engaged in homosexual acts nor posed for pornographic pictures, but told the Franklin County grand jury he did so out of fear of District Attorney General J. William Pope. Mr. Pope called me a SOB and said he was going to stomp me into the ground. He said he was going to lock me up, Pickett said. This guy, Claudius Ira Vermillion Jr., died in 2018 at the age of 89, so he had a good run. He was an Episcopalian priest, and he was taking pictures of naked boys, apparently. And said to have engaged in prostitution, boys for during the execution of the search warrant at the farm, police discovered developed and undeveloped photographs of child pornography, as well as car catalogues containing the names of hundreds of current and previous financial contributors. Some of the sponsors were going to testify against Vermillion at his trial in exchange for legal immunity in Tennessee, because it's the deep south, they don't like this sort of thing there. According to several boys who went on to testify, the homosexual activities were consensual. No, they weren't, and none mentioned any use of force on Vermillion's part. One, however, said it was understood that photography sessions were required if anyone to continue living at the farm. There's at least one other case in the database. the bloke who retracted his allegation against the priest, claimed it was false memories. May have been false memory, but you can't believe accusers uncritically. And even when there are guilty people, it's not just sex crimes. Even when there are guilty people, sometimes, maybe not more than sometimes, witnesses and genuine victims will embellish our evidence. What we've got here, this is gatesheadherald.co.uk. There's another one. This will be fairly short from now on. Woman's anguish as CPS refused to pursue case against a man who raped her. A Westbury woman who said she was raped by a man in a flat in Trowbridge has lost her faith in British justice after the Crown Prosecution Service decided not to bring charges. A 30-year-old office worker who lives in a flat with a partner spent 5 hours undergoing tests and questioning in a rape suite in Swindon after the attack in June. She says police told her they had a good case against the man who they arrested, or should that be whom they arrested? Soon after she dialed 999, just minutes after she woke to find herself naked from the waist down, and a man is standing over her. But last week, she received a letter from the CPS saying it would be taking no further action, as it was her word against his. The man, who was a loose acquaintance, admitted to police he had sex with a woman, but claimed it was consensual. She said, "There have been times when I haven't wanted to exist anymore, but my partner and friends have been amazing, and I couldn't thank them enough. I rang 999 immediately. I didn't wash and I didn't change my clothes." She said, it all started after she had met a male friend for lunch at the Trowbridge pub. They were joined by another man who a friend knew. They had a few drinks during the afternoon and then went back to her friend's bed sitting in Trowbridge. She said, "We had a few more drinks and then my friend said he was going to have a shower. I was feeling tired, so I thought I would just close my eyes while he was getting ready to go out again. The man was in the same room as me, but I didn't feel any worries about him. I must have fallen asleep when I woke up. So all my lower clothes were down. He was standing close to me. I screamed and ran to the bathroom. The alleged rapist never out of the flat. I know a woman who lives in Trowbridge. She wouldn't take a man home like that under any circumstances. And anyone who tried it over there would have his eyes clawed out. Not going to mention her by name, but I don't know what to make of that. I mean, that's her version of events. Alcohol, stay away from drunk women. Don't get drunk with women. If you're married to one, that's fair enough. But stay away from drunk women. But whatever you do. The Liverpool Forced Memory Movement casting doubt on sexual assault victims. This is a letter. This is from Lift Post, October last year. Pat Mills stepped off the pavement away from the sunlit street into the ground at dimly lit hall. He scanned the London venue where he was surprised to see signs of moth everywhere. A lot of people, of course, were wearing Dun & Co clothing, a brand middle-class professionals wore at the time. It was the early 1990s. Tweed jackets, etc. He heard a cacophony of southern accents. He was spotted an aristocrat. I felt like an intruder, he says. Mills had come from his home in Colchester, expecting to meet people from an organisation that existed to investigate and understand the experience of adults who recover memories of being sexually abused in childhood. In fact, it was a safeguarding organisation for parents accused by their own children or other relatives of sexual abuse. Therapists, lawyers and researchers have been arguing about how our brains store traumatic events since Freud conceived the theory of impression over a century ago. Yeah, Freud's etiology of hysteria can be found on the timeline. I'll put a link to it. False memories are real. You have false memories every day. There's Elizabeth Loftus here. She's had a lot of bad press, but she's the world's leading expert on false memories. Mostly false memories are trivial, but I've done a link. Yeah, I'll put a link to it. A hangout about believing the children. Any adult who comes forward and claims to have been sexually abused, especially to have some sort of recovered memory, adult woman, adult man, unless there's extremely strong corroboration, it's unsafe. I've recounted my own earliest memory, which has nothing to do with sex, which got me onto this thing. And as Loftus says, memory isn't like a video. if you keep playing and playing over again. It's more like a Wikipedia page anyone can edit, including accidentally. Let's have a look. I think that'll probably be enough for this. I'm going to start quite some depth about that, but I'd say these are cases not for the timeline, but there are lots of cases which I could add, which I haven't added and I won't add. I don't add a case just because somebody's been found not guilty of rape. I just did one more. This is cleared of rape. This is from Express and Star, which is a Wolverhampton newspaper, December 13th, 1991, page 20. Man 24 cleared of rape charge. A Wolverhampton man has been cleared of rape after his alleged victim said she did not want to give evidence against him. So what can you do? I won't name him. According to this, he's got an estranged wife who's 2 years older than him. No, I'm not even bothered to research it further. It's probably not who it is. I'm just one more. Oh yeah, I mean this is incredible. This rape conviction of former 459ers raider Dana Stubblefield tossed out. This is absolutely unbelievable. This is a big fat cunt. Oh, he's fat here. He's 49ers, that's American sport. The rape conviction of former Raiders and 49ers defensive tackle Dana Stubblefield was overturned by California Appellate Court after a panel of judges ruled the conviction was in violation of the California Racial Justice Act. Can you believe it? Which states that race, ethnicity, or national origin can be used to convict or sentence criminal developments. How about physical evidence? I remember this case. The videos on I don't know if the whole trial is on YouTube, but I do remember this case. He raped a woman from a babysitter website. She was just over a 20-minute interview. She left, then drove back after he texted to say he wanted to pay her for her time. Prosecutors at the time said Stubblefield raped the woman and paid her $80 after he returned to his home. The woman reported the assault to Morgan Hill Police, and Stubblefield was implicated in the alleged crime through DNA evidence and a records check of the address and phone number given to the woman. Stubblefield's lawyer, I have racial justice garbage. I mean, you can't. If you play by those rules, you can't convict anybody, can you? I mean, I'll leave it at that. I've got more than enough to do another 2 or 3 videos on this subject. But these are cases not for the timeline. I will probably take me 2 or 3 days to witness the other. I've got other things to do as well. Please visit the International Force Fact Club below, and if you can support it financially, it will be much appreciated. Several people have over the years, only several though.